Well, welcome back to the Mouse and Men podcast, where we explore the grown-up side of Disney. This week, we're going into the future, or at least the present, where last week we went into the past, talking about the old downtown Disney. This week, we're talking about the present day Disney Springs, and just talking about all the offerings that are there. We're going to go into some detail about when we visited there August of 2019, pre-COVID pandemic, and all the fun that we had there. And just talk about that experience that we had a bit more. But again, Chris Murphy here alongside my co-host, Bradley Minigan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Glad we get to take a virtual trip back to Disney Springs. I know we've said this before, with everybody kind of on lockdown still, and with things looking like they're getting worse, virtual trips are going to be the way we travel right now. So we're going to take a virtual trip to Disney Springs. Last week, it was downtown Disney. They've gone through kind of a rebranding, re-imaging to Disney Springs. So that's where we're going to be this week. Be sure to join in the conversation at the Mouse and Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Also go to themouseandmen.com, where you can get our top 10 things for grown-ups to do in Walt Disney World. Chris, let's jump right in to Disney Springs and what's available when it's all open in Disney Springs now.
Yeah, so last week we talked a good bit about like our experiences of downtown Disney. And I guess that downtown Disney went from somewhere in the mid-90s all the way up until 2015-ish when they rebranded to Disney Springs. And so it's been Disney Springs for about the past 5 years now. But we went through that experience and what it was like. And I tell you, when you and I went last August, there was a lot of familiarity. Like the layout is still the same. Yeah. But a lot of new options, tons of new dining options over the years, but a lot of new shops and experiences and fun stuff that I know that we'll get into. But it's one of those things where when you go back, you really can enjoy it again, because they're constantly adding new things, new experiences, new offerings, new fun things to do that you either paid or free. So it's worth it to go to Disney Springs every time you're down there, especially because it's one of those places where you can park for free, walk around for free. You don't have to pay an entrance to get into that area. And there's always so much to do.
Yeah. So just for a little bit of a history lesson, last week, Chris, you talked a lot about Pleasure Island. That's now become, I think you termed it Restaurant Row. It's it's a little island called The Landing now. So Pleasure Island, what used to be Pleasure Island, is now The Landing. The west side, where Disney Quest was, that was my trip down memory lane last week. That's over on the west side. And then you've got the marketplace, where you've got lots of little shops, little Disney trinket shops, the biggest being World of Disney, where it's just the biggest Disney store you could imagine.
It's huge. Yeah, it's enormous.
It's really big. So there's a lot of different things with the Landing being mostly food, marketplace mostly being shopping, west side being more entertainment, because that's where you find the movie theater, the bowling alley, Cirque du Soleil. That's all over on the west side. So kind of different little pockets, but all such a blast.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the way I think of it. It's like an outdoor mall meets Vegas meets Disney, because there's just so many. There's like, if you want to have a typical mall experience and go to the Sunglass Hut or go get a pretzel somewhere or find a Starbucks, you're going to find that at downtown Disney. Yeah. If you want to have a bit more of an experience, there is kind of like there's a movie theater, there's a bowling alley, there's the NBA experience that you and I took part in to a degree when we were there, like grand opening day when we were there last August. Those types of things are there. Also Aerophile, which is this balloon that takes you 400 feet into the air and just kind of have a float above the world experience, which is really cool. That is on my bucket list to do at Disney Springs. But then there's also the Disney side of it, like the world of Disney, and like a Lego store that just goes beyond being a Lego store, where you can basically get any kind of Lego that you've ever imagined. But you can, like, you walk by the lagoon near the Lego store, and there's this huge Lego dragon out front that's been there for years and years, even going back to the 90s when I first visited downtown Disney. So those kinds of experiences there. The World of Disney store, the Christmas store that is open year round down there in the far edges of the marketplace that you and I have visited as well. So many different experiences, but there's something for everybody. And I know that we talk a lot about the grown-up side of Disney on this podcast. And so we tried to have a grown-up experience while we were there one evening when we stopped by when we were in Orlando at a Cuban cigar place called Sosa Family Cigars. Had a blast there. And again, probably not somewhere that I would go into while I was there with the family. Nothing against it, but you and I just being two guys that took a road trip down there, it was nice. They will help you out picking a cigar, and then they have an area where you can just sit, smoke right there inside of their facility there at Sosa. And so just like really cool. Time to go there. And they were, again, one of those things that I find oftentimes when I go to a store outside of Disney, oftentimes I'm disappointed by the customer service. Even something like a Sosa Family Cigars, it's not necessarily Disney, but on Disney property, I felt like their demeanor was more upbeat. They were very kind. They were very, like, they went into detail about the different types of cigars I was looking for. And so that level of customer service, even at a place that's not affiliated with Disney, but on a Disney property, is just top notch, out of this world.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know how long Sosa Family Cigars has been there, but that whole west side was really expanded when Disney Springs went through this transformation and rebranding. So they added more places for locals to go shopping. Just for context, Disneyland is very local oriented. Most of their guests are from the local area. Whereas Disney World in Orlando, there aren't a whole lot of locals going to Disney property down there. They wanted to create Disney Springs or rebrand it, kind of develop it so that more locals could come and have that mall type experience. Makes sense if Disney's looking to sell some ice cream cones and merch to locals. So they really expanded that west side, and that Sosa Family Cigars was fantastic. Now, I only stepped in for a minute or two because you were grabbing cigars while I was doing some other stuff around downtown Disney or Disney Springs. But yeah, it's got more of a grown-up feel now. Pleasure Island, I think felt more kind of college aged,
right?
As their target demographic. Now it's not that it's upscale where kids can't go, but it's family friendly across the board, but also just more grown up in a way.
Yeah. If you go at night, it's going to be very well lit. There's going to be, people around, security, to make sure that everything not only is safe, but it also feels safe. Even I think that at one point you and I were going to jump on a bus, and just the experience getting off the bus until you get into the main area of Disney Springs, there were several Disney employees that were just there to make sure, do you know where you're going? Can I help you with anything? And this was like kind of in an offshoot back alley kind of thing in a corner area of Disney Springs. Even there, I felt like there was always somebody that I could look up and go, hey, can I get a hand here? Or can I get some help or something like that? It felt like there was rarely a time that I did not see somebody that was there to be helpful in whatever capacity, if we needed them. Now, you and I didn't avail ourselves of those services, but they were always there. And so just that family atmosphere, I think you're right. The Pleasure Island did seem to be kind of more aimed at the college crowd. Come, let's party all night. Let's have some fun, which in context of the time that I went there was fun when I was more that age. But now I feel like that, again, what Disney does so well these days is there's something for all ages. I'm sure there's a Build-A-Bear workshop or something like that for the young kids to go get something, or, the world of Disney is going to have a huge area that's just dedicated to princesses,
Yeah.
Toy Story, that kind of thing. But then there's Sosa Family Cigars. There's the NBA experience. There's places where you can go to have a world-class bar experience or a nice upscale steak at one of the world-class restaurants they have there. So something for everybody.
Yeah. They just keep adding to it because, like you said, when we were down there, NBA experience opened up. We only got to see really the merch portion, but got to see some interviews happening in real time.
Yeah.
And it's got some basketball skill competition games that you can participate in around there. On that side, also there's the movie theater and bowling. That's over on the west side. Then we went to Bongos, which was Gloria Estefan's and her husband's restaurant. There's the restaurant, and then there's a walk-up window. And we went to the walk-up window, and this is great. There are a couple places in Disney Springs that have this. You can get a smaller menu, but just at, without the weight of having to get a table and all that. So we tried some Cuban sandwiches. Fantastic. That's since closed. I believe it's a Mexican restaurant now. I'm not sure if they finished putting it in yet or not, but then there's, I've also tried a Mexican food truck. When we were down there, Wine Bar George has a little walk-up window called The Basket, and they had a Froscato sandwich. This was really good. It was a summer 2019 experiment with summer 2020. Half the summer, the Disney parks were closed. Yeah. But this is 2 sugar cookies with Dole Whip, the pineapple Dole Whip with Moscato and vodka. And it was fantastic. It was
so good.
It was an alcoholic ice cream sandwich. It was
the
great.
Best cookie sandwich I've ever had.
Yeah, I hope they bring it back because it was so good.
See, and that's another one of those things where I would not have known to go and experience that at that one little shop. But you did some sleuthing and found several things that we were able to do that were not necessarily, if you just Google, what should I do at Disney? Some of these things aren't going to pop up because they are limited experiences, things that you are here maybe for a season, and maybe they come back every year, kind of like a pumpkin spice latte kind of situation where it's here for a limited time, but you can only get it during this time of the year kind of thing. But I'm so glad that you did the research to find that, because I would have never had it. And it's one of my best favorite desserts that I've ever had in my life.
Oh yeah. It was, I wish I could make it at home. Although I would probably triple in size eating that all the time. But there's a lot of different options for eating, from everything from upscale to, taco trucks. So it's really cool. I really like how they have added the more traditional shopping, like an like an H&M or Anthropologie.
Right.
I tried to say Anthropologie in the middle of H&M, and that never works out right.
Anthropologie.
Exactly. So it's a cool outdoor mall, but then there are sections that definitely feel more Disney. But I really like how Disney Springs has been reimagined.
I do too. And again, now that I am officially about a week away from having 2 teenagers in my house. My daughter will turn 13 in just a week or so. And so now, having an age kids that I have now, my wife and I could go down to Disney Springs with the kids and kind of be one of those situations where, because it's Disney, it feels safe. We can get there, just say, let's meet back here in an hour and let you two go do what you want to do. and they can go bowl a game, they can go to H&M, they can go do something like that. The NBA experience again, especially for my son who loves basketball. So they can go do that kind of thing. And then my wife and I, we can go have a nice meal. We can go to one of the bars and get a cocktail or something like that and enjoy it. And so again, it's an amazing experience because again, to get there, it's free. Now, some of the things that you're going to do could cost you, but just going down there, you can't beat the price as far as the walking around, being able to enjoy yourself. Things like there's a Star Wars. I think it's called Galactic Outpost, where you can build your own lightsaber down there, which is one of those bucket list things that I would like to do as well.
That's in Hollywood Studios at Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, really? So I'm seeing here though that there's another one down there.
Oh, is there?
There is a Galactic Outpost at Disney Springs as well now. I think that they opened that up, and maybe there are certain options that you can get only there versus or Hollywood Studios. But yeah, so there's another area where you can really dive in, and it's near the AMC theater down there for when you're doing your next planning.
Yeah, so that's really cool. I think we walked past it and saw Star Wars memorabilia in there because it's not far from Sosa Family Cigars.
Yeah, you're right. And so, okay, this is the thing that I wanted to talk about with plussing this week.
Plussing.
Which is the fact that any Disney experience you're going to have, especially when you're traveling down to the Orlando area to go to Disney, there's going to be things that are going to catch your eye and you're going to want to do. There's going to be things that you've done in your research that you want to do. But this week's plussing, just a recommendation for all of you out there planning a trip, which is keep a running list of the things that you want to do. Because whether it's going to the Galactic Outpost for Star Wars down at Disney Springs that maybe we didn't get a chance to really experience as much as we wanted to last time, doing the Aerophile, where the big balloon that takes you up 400 feet in the air, or doing the NBA experience, or for me, every year or every time that I've gone down there, I've wanted to go to Raglan Road. And for whatever reason, because I haven't written it down, I will then be wrapping up my trip and like, dang, another trip going to even to Disney Springs, and I've still never eaten there. And so this week's plussing is just to remind you to keep a running list of all the things that you want to do, because there's so many experiences to do, whether you're inside the parks or you're playing mini golf or you're doing a day of leisure at Disney Springs, that if you don't write them down, you may walk right past them in a rush to get to that other thing that is like really flashy and big and bright and calling your name, so to speak, that you may pass it by. So just recommendation, keep a running list so you don't end a trip and then have regret that you didn't do that one thing that you said you were going to do.
Right. I mean, I've put this into practice. So we used to always eat at Raglan Road while we were down there. Then my wife and I decided to change it up. We went to Bongo's and got Cuban sandwiches. Loved it. Then we said, you know what? We need to find something else. And we discovered the food trucks, the taco truck. And that was fantastic. So one of the things that's on my list is I have seen a couple of the Star Wars movies, but I haven't seen the original trilogy, all three of them. I haven't seen, I think I've seen episode 4, episode 2, and Rogue One. Look, you can hate on me for, you haven't watched the best ones. Fine, whatever. I'm going down to Disney at some point, and I want to experience Galaxy's Edge. That is number 1 on my list. Circled, starred, bold, italicized, all of it. That's on my list. And I'm going to experience it as someone who has not seen all the Star Wars franchise. And then I'm going to watch everything it's going to be an experiment for this podcast. But I've got that list going. I'm trying to think what else is on there because I don't have my list in front of me. Pandora was on there at one point. Chris, I know that's on your list.
Yeah, that was something that my family and I were going to do this year, and then that trip got canceled because of the pandemic. But yeah, Pandora is something I've yet to experience that I can't wait to do.
Yeah, that was on our list. So what did we do? We found ourselves in Tampa for a few days, decided to take an afternoon and go over to Pandora and check it out.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, keep a running list. Hopefully some of these things that we mentioned through plussing make your list, or even just encourage you to start a list of things that you want to do on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. One
And
last thing for me with the NBA experience, we got down there and we were kind of surprised that we got down there on their grand opening day.
yeah,
And so people like the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, were there. NBA greats were there. I remember seeing Grant Hill just walking around. It was really amazing there to just experience that. But when I heard about the NBA experience, I couldn't wait to go do some of those NBA drills and do some of that stuff that you can walk in and go shopping at the NBA experience. And that's one side. But then there's this whole other interactive side that you pay for and have the true NBA experience. And I was excited about doing it, but because it was the grand opening, they had some of the NBA stars actually doing that and filming it for, I think it was NBA Inside Stuff, a TV show that talks about all things NBA. So we didn't get to do that. So that's on my list to do next time we go down there. And I've, one of those random things that doesn't mean a lot, but for me, there's some kind of thing that I really want to do. I've never seen a movie down there at the AMC movie theater at Disney Springs, and I would love to say that I saw a Star Wars film or some kind of random any movie, but to say I did it at Disney Springs would be a nice little thing to do as well. So keep a running list of all those things because again, I first saw the AMC theaters back when I first went there in probably 1998. And so here I'm going on, 22 years and said, it'd be really cool to see a movie down there. And I still haven't done it. So need to keep that on the list. But yeah, running list and tally, you're amazing at it. I need to do a better job of it. So this is almost as much a recommendation for everybody, but even myself to remind myself of what I need to do.
well, making a list, making a spreadsheet. My mom is an accountant and she says you can make a spreadsheet for anything. So I guess that's where I learned it, but it really helps me realize. And as I'm researching for our shows, I hear something, I put it down on a list because we got to go back. I heard about mini golf on a different podcast I listened to. I said, you know what? We need to go check out mini golf at Disney. My wife said, hey, we need to check out the water parks. Put that down on the list. Made that happen. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party.
Yes.
Did it. Now the Very Merry Christmas is on there as well. So I got to get down there, after Thanksgiving for the Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
Food and Wine Festival is a great one.
Just about to say the same thing. Yeah.
Flower and Garden. Both of those happen over at Epcot. If you like food, even the Flower and Garden has special plates, special offerings for the festival. So those are things that you need to check out. Those festivals are so popular. They keep expanding them. There's always something going on at Epcot, it feels like. So
yeah,
put those on your list and then just start slowly checking them off.
Yeah. Make a list, check it twice.
So, hey, and in the spirit of Christmas, Merry Christmas, Chris.
Merry Christmas to you as well. I wish that we could have given ourselves the gift to go down this year, but we'll make up for it in the future. Trying to hunker down with this pandemic right now, but it's been great to talk about the trip that we went on a little over a year ago. And it's the gift that keeps on giving, again, because we've taken videos and pictures and now we're talking about it on the podcast. And we were there for a very brief time, but we had so many things that we wanted to share with our audience and fill them in on that as well, just to show them that there are so many different sides of Disney. Right.
Well, I love it. Disney Springs, a great place to go if, maybe you got in that morning. You don't want to just go to a park for half the day. Go check out Disney Springs. Maybe after laying poolside for the day, just go get dinner down there, hang out with the family. Great opportunity. Or if you're down there with extended family, the guys or the girls could go check out Sosa's Family Cigars. Go check out live music as they bring that stuff back. there's live music all over Disney Springs, different things that you can go do for no charge, no entry fee, no gate fee. So go check that out at Disney Springs.
Yeah. Such a blast. Had such a good time. Love talking about it again today. Makes me just want to go, though.
Right. Well, anytime that I'm down in that area, I try to hit Disney Springs.
Yeah.
So
that's a good call.
Chris, I just want to say, don't grow up too fast.
But keep exploring.